Hello and welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I am Jay Goat Testicle Cluett.
And I'm Mark Russian Doll Hoffmeyer.
And on this show we talk about the Deep Blue Sea franchise one chapter at a time. We've done all of that looking at Deep Blue Sea.
You caught me really off guard with that one.
We're talking about Deep Blue Sea adjacent films featuring sharks or underwater action, or, as is today's choice, directed by Renny Harlin. Today we're talking about Skiptrace. What is Skiptrace? Well, it's a 2016 mainly Chinese film directed by Renny Harlin, starring Jackie Chan and Joey Knoxville as a Hong Kong detective, Benny Chan, that's Jackie Chan, who goes to Russia to bring back Joey Knoxville for a whole convoluted bunch of reasons that involves them trekking across Mongolia and other places to bring down a mob boss, essentially. Mark, you're back on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Hooray!
So I'm happy it's Skiptrace.
You picked it. Why? Why did you pick Skiptrace?
Listen, this movie to me is, I understand the narrative short givings, but it's fun. This is a very pleasant movie, at least to me. Now, I love, I don't know, it's just, also I think I'm really struggling here, but I do think the idea of Johnny Knoxville and Jackie Chan is very inspired. I know that Sean William Scott was originally attached, but I'm happy that it's Stuntmaster Knoxville, who I've spent a lot of time with recently. I did a Walking Tall episode, and then I had to rewatch every Jackass movie and count every single stunt. That was pretty fun. Actually, you can read that. Maybe I can link to it. It's a fun article. But I've spent a lot of time with him, watching Jackie Chan, the two of them together, seeing Renny Harlin. I mean, this is when Renny made his move over to China to start making films. I do think it's a wildly convoluted plot. Renny Harlin, during the commentary, did not like the cell phone at all. It seemed like he got saddled with his cell phone. He's like, oh, the MacGuffin, the cell phone again. He couldn't stand it. But I do think that it's shot on location. I mean, the Mongolian landscapes. I mean, just Jackie Chan wanted this to be a very authentic look, just like a travel log of China. And we get to see some really cool locations. There's some very fun set pieces involving Russian dolls and Johnny Knoxville tied up and people on rafts. And there's a 3-wheeling vehicle that gets a lot of laughs. Overall, I think it's just a pleasant, fun, amiable film that I think you can just enjoy. The first time I watched this, I watched it with my father-in-law, and he just stopped playing darts and just watched the screen during every action scene. Like, he was really into just the fun, cheeky action. So when you decide to tackle the Renny Harlin movies, I know a lot of people, this is not highly rated. It did make a lot of money overseas, but I just didn't want people, this movie, it's not good. But I just wanted to come on and talk about my enjoyment of it. And I still think Renny Harlin has it when it comes to making action films that are easy to follow and enjoyable. So that's why I recommended it.
I feel like, there is a lot of action in this film. There's so many action scenes. I feel like it would be a good film to have on at a party with the sound off. We just
exactly.
It's not a film to sit down and watch. It's a kind of film to walk past and go, that's a fun fight in a factory.
It's a movie to play darts to.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's not a film. This shouldn't be the only thing you're doing is watching Skiptrace.
Yeah. I mean, play darts, do laundry. I do a lot of research assignments. That'd be perfect for that. Yeah, have it on while you're cooking.
Exactly.
And then go, here's the action scene I like. And then you watch it.
Cooking sometimes. So that works well. Or doing the
and I don't want. And Jay, I know this sounds like an insult that we're saying in this movie, but I do think movies like this, the world needs movies like this that are just fun, easy, cheeky, have some inspired gags, and they're just really non-difficult to watch. And I don't know, I dig it. I listened to the you know what always happens to me, Jay? I watched The Covenant and I went, oofta. But then I listened to the commentary and I went, yes. And then I listened to the commentary for this, and just hearing Renny talking about how they went to all the different locations, how they were in the middle of nowhere and he saw goats in the road. He's like, we need to film that. It's pre-production design. So he's just using all of his tricks. It's funny too. Like, he didn't like the cell phone. He's like, oh, the cell phone. But he's just such an honest and open, and he gives such a great commentary that I love listening to it. And Listen, I just finished this up again for this episode, and it does put a smile on my face. Like, I love Knoxville. Like, I'm a huge Knoxville fan, and I'm a big Jackie Chan fan, so it just seems like a match made in heaven.
Well, they're two actors that I'm actually not very familiar with. I've never seen anything Jackass. Not an episode or a film. To me, Johnny Knoxville is the guy from Men in Black 2. And the guy who's like one of the Dukes of Hazzard. Like obviously in the film. And he's got a very, a small section in the terrible movie 43. And is in The Last Stand. He's like this kind of bit player in some action comedies. And then Jackie Chan.
The Last Stand. That's a good one.
I like The Last Stand, yeah. And Jackie Chan, for my shame, I've seen very few Jackie Chan films.
Wow.
I've seen the Rush Hour trilogy. And I've seen
Drunken Master or any of his Super Cops with Michelle Yeoh?
I've only seen him in the Rush Hour films, and then I've heard him in the Kung Fu Panda films, which he's gloriously cast as Monkey. But yeah, I haven't seen any of his Chinese
Rumble
films.
in the Bronx?
Nope, nothing. I just missed there's whole swathes of cinema that I just haven't seen, and Jackie Chan's filmography is unfortunately in it.
Just his work. I mean, in the Super Cop films, Drunken Master, he's just an absolute legend. And so I guess for me, growing up, I remember for one time my Christmas gift, my friend got me the Jackass box set, and I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever gotten in my life. And I love the movies. I remember every single time I watched one of them in the theaters. I really love going through them again recently. There's something I've always enjoyed about Knoxville. He just seems like a cool dude. And I first learned about Jackie Chan when Quentin Tarantino was big in the 90s and he got Rumble in the Bronx over here. And then they followed up with a few more of his movies that they brought over. And I would always go to the theater to watch Jackie Chan movies. And then I discovered them through Tarantino. So knowing how both these men have hurt themselves wildly over the decades, it's very inspired casting. It's very inspired.
I would have loved Sean William Scott in the role. We're both fans of his. But Knoxville seems like a perfect choice. Just these two people who have broken every part of their body in the name of art.
And like in this movie, they got hurt a lot. Like when Johnny Knoxville's running out of the casino and he hits that chair, he really jacked up his shin and his limp was real. There's several scenes in here where Jackie Chan gets hit in the face with a van door. Yeah, the unibrow guy. For lack of a better word, I'm not sure what his name is, but that's kind of what
Sergey, I think I think was.
Yeah, Sergey. You're right, Charlie Rouse. And so he he kicked the door right in Jackie's face, and Jackie's like, oh, they're just getting hurt all over the place. But also too, Jay, I don't know if you felt this way, but with that huge block of recyclables, with the Mud Festival, with the Mongolians. You know what's funny with Adele? They just made that up on set. Then they figured out there was a good singer on set, so they started singing that. They're like, oh, we can get clearance later because it's Jackie Chan. They had a really hard time getting clearance. So then I'm sorry if you know this already.
No, I have done very little research on this.
Yep. So they just sang it, and then Renny Harlin had to make every single call in his I'm just gonna say a Rolodex cell phone, and then eventually they found somebody who knew somebody that got the approval of Adele, because Adele's huge in China.
Yeah.
So you just watching the locations, and when they were in Russia in the bowling alley, that's actually an area in Beijing that's drenched to be like a French vineyard in the middle of Beijing. And so I don't know. I like the authenticity of it. And listen, I know it's another country. Please don't I know there's many differences between Korea and China. I mean, China's a massive block of land, but I went to a mud festival in Korea. And so seeing them in that mud area, it's like, I don't know. It just felt fun. The singing bits and just, I think it has its heart in the right place. Yeah. I do think Jay, I mean, maybe hiring a Finnish director to make a English film in China with Johnny Knoxville
and a bunch of Russians.
And a bunch of Russians maybe isn't the best idea.
It's a very, very international film. That also feels heavily influenced by China.
And that's absolute. You just nailed it. It's co-financed by China. Then Jackie wanted it to be a travel log to show off the country, and then they just hired Renny because, I mean, listen, if you need to make a movie, just hire Renny. Renny knows how to point a camera somewhere. He knows how to get what you need. And so I think he just came along for this ride after the initial director left, and he made this movie, and it made $130 million.
Yeah, but I find it odd. This never got a US release. or a UK release in cinemas. I watched it on Netflix, that's why I haven't listened to the commentary because it's not on there. But yeah, this was only released in like China and some Central and Eastern European countries and South America, other places in Asia, but not the US, not the UK, not Western Europe, which I find very odd.
Yeah, it really got buried here in the States. But I gotta say, the cast that it put together, though, I mean, Winston Chow, Fan Bingbing,
yeah.
Huge. I mean, she's a gigantic name. And you know what's wild, too? Eve Torres, she was a 3-time WWE champion. She plays Dasha.
Yes.
She's a beast in this movie. Like, I think she's, like, the physicality in her role. And then the woman that she fights, Zoe, her character's name is Ting Ting.
Yes.
She is a Taekwondo champion. So watching them fight, I was like, these two are legit, right?
Yeah, they're fighting with like a giant wrench.
Yeah.
It's insane.
While standing on just like scaffolding and then throwing high kicks. I don't know. I like the casting. They brought a very international cast. But yeah, the core idea of it is flawed. But like you said, it's a very good movie to make dinner to.
Yeah. I mean, because I watched it twice for this. I watched it once and thought, well, this is terrible. This is just a kind of a mess. I feel like this isn't the kind of film where you want to take notes and try and pass out the plot and work out, okay, so this because of this, because of this. Because
cell phone, blah, blah, blah.
Well, not even the cell phone, just what throws these two characters together. So it's like Benny is Benny's partner is killed by the Matador, is how the film is set up, with a bomb vest, and etc. And he spends the next 9 years, I think it's 9 years, trying to trace down and prove that this this government official, Victor Wong, played by Winston Chow, is the Matador and is responsible for killing his partner Young. Okay, fine. So in some kind of operation, this goes wrong and he gets put on administrative leave because he's an embarrassment to the force. Turns out that his boss is actually in on it as well. Fine. Meanwhile, Connor Watts, Johnny Knoxville, is some American con man gambler who cons a Hong Kong casino for $1 million. We never see this.
Never see it. Never see it.
Like one of the most cinematic things you can show. Never seen. Whilst he's at the casino an casino employee offers him a suite. They spend the night together, it's assumed. And the next day, he steals her elevator card. Again, we'd never see it. Meanwhile, he's then found by these Russian gangsters whose daughter he possibly impregnated. Turns out he didn't.
Allegedly.
They had a relationship, but the way they did it, they couldn't have made a baby. And it turns out somebody else did. Fine. But he's being dragged back to marry her to make an honest woman of this daughter. So in trying to run away from these Russian gangsters, he uses Samantha, Fan Bingbing's character's elevator card to go up to run away, and he gets to the top of the elevator just as he sees Victor Wong having killed Esther Yi, is the name of this character, who dies in his arms, gives him a phone, and then running out of the casino, he's grabbed by the Russians, taken back to Russia. Jackie Chan, Benny, goes to Russia to get him and bring him back. That is and it turns out the casino employee who gave him the room, whose card he stole, is the daughter of Jackie Chan's partner and also his goddaughter. This is the most convoluted mess to get a Midnight Run kind of scenario.
And Connor burns Benny's passport.
Yeah. So they have to travel on foot or on land.
This is a movie of gags. It's not a movie of plot.
But but they could have so much more easily established. Think about Midnight Run. I love Midnight Run. It's just there's a criminal, the Duke Mardukas, and Robert De Niro is just got to go and bring him back.
Yeah, that's
it. The Duke did something wrong for the mob that they're trying to chase him as well. That's it. That's all you need.
You don't need a goddaughter. You don't need
a foreign.
Benny lecturing Connor Watts about his terrible family. I mean, I don't have a family. Ugh.
It's so much legwork just to get these